Have you ever woken up to a mysterious charge on your credit card? That sinking feeling in your gut, the frantic check of your bank account, the immediate fear that your financial information has been compromised. It's a scenario nobody wants to face, but credit card theft is a surprisingly common problem. So, what happens if you find yourself in this situation? Specifically, if you're a Capital One customer and suspect fraudulent activity, will they refund your stolen money? The answer, thankfully, is yes, with some important caveats. But before we delve into the nitty-gritty details, let's rewind a bit. Understanding how credit card fraud works can empower you to protect yourself and react swiftly if it ever happens to you. There are various ways fraudsters can steal your credit card information. Sometimes, it's through physical means, a lost or stolen wallet, a skimmed card at a gas station. Other times, it's through digital trickery, phishing emails, malware on your computer, even fake online stores designed to steal your details. The key thing to remember is that credit card companies, like Capital One, have sophisticated fraud detection systems in place. These systems monitor transactions for suspicious activity, things like purchases outside your typical spending patterns or location. If a red flag pops up, Capital One might contact you directly to verify the transaction before it goes through. Now, back to the big question, what if a fraudulent charge slips through the cracks and appears on your statement? Here's where Capital One's zero liability policy for unauthorized charges comes into play. This policy essentially protects you from being held responsible for any charges you didn't authorize. Here's how it works. The first step is to report the fraudulent activity to Capital One. You can do this by calling their customer service hotline, logging into your online account, or even using their mobile app. The important thing is to act quickly. The sooner you report the fraud, the faster Capital One can investigate and take action. Once you've reported the suspicious activity, Capital One will typically freeze your account to prevent further unauthorized charges. They'll then launch an investigation into the fraudulent transaction. This might involve contacting the merchant, reviewing security footage, or working with law enforcement officials. During this investigation, Capital One will usually issue a temporary credit to your account for the disputed amount. This doesn't necessarily mean the investigation is resolved, but it helps ensure you're not left financially stranded while things are sorted out. The investigation process can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, depending on the complexity of the case. Throughout this time, Capital One will keep you updated on the progress. Now, remember those caveats I mentioned earlier? While Capital One's zero liability policy is generally very good, there are a few situations where you might be held partially responsible for fraudulent charges. For instance, if you share your credit card information with someone who then uses it fraudulently, you might end up having to pay a small portion of the disputed amount. Similarly, if you fail to keep your account information secure or don't report suspicious activity promptly, Capital One might limit your liability protection. The bottom line? Capital One has your back when it comes to credit card fraud. Their zero liability policy offers significant protection, but it's still crucial to be vigilant and report any suspicious activity immediately. Here are some additional tips to remember. Regularly review your credit card statements for any unauthorized charges. Be cautious when sharing your credit card information online. Use strong passwords and enable two-factor authentication whenever possible. Consider using a credit card with fraud protection features like purchase alerts. By following these steps, you can significantly reduce your risk of falling victim to credit card fraud. Remember, knowledge is power. By understanding how Capital One handles fraudulent charges and taking proactive steps to protect yourself, you can approach your finances with greater confidence. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.